Credit Union president. Do you use a CEO? Are you CEO and president? What's on your business cards?
Yes,
Okay.
both president and CEO.
All right, and you've been doing that. How long now?
Oh boy, I think eight years.
Okay, all right. And are you ready to retire? Or are you doing okay?
No, not yet. I wish. I wish. I think I still got about 20 more years left.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us this morning. We talked about this just a few moments ago on the radio, is that people think when, at least that's one factor, right, that comes into play, is how many branch locations do you have? The convenience of going somewhere, being able to access your account, because we talk about accessing our accounts on our mobile phones and such. But being able to go into an actual branch or pull up to an ATM or any other system and not have to necessarily be penalized, be able to talk to somebody across the counter that can talk our bank accounts, right? Mm-hmm. And the information that we have. That's crucially important for people, isn't it?
Correct. A lot of people hear about various ATM branching networks. So, you might be banking at one institution and they might be part of a network across the country where you can access those ATMs, maybe without a fee or a smaller fee when you go to those ATMs. But this is much bigger than that. It's where you can go into a branch and access your accounts that way, mm-hmm. whether you need to make a loan payment or make a larger withdrawal than your ATM might allow you to do. So that's kind of the advantage of the branching system, which we're part of. We have two different networks we're part of, and together they are much bigger or they're the second largest branching network in the country, second right behind Wells Fargo. It's one of our bigger banks in town, PNC. A lot of people bank with them because they've got a lot of branches around the country. Well, our network is twice the size of PNC's network. Like I said, it allows members to go into an institution and pull out maybe more money than what the ATM might allow them. Just for example, a couple years ago, we went on spring break down in Florida, and we went charter boat fishing with a captain, and he accepted a credit card to pay for him. But in terms of tipping, we needed some cash, and maybe it was more cash than what the ATM would allow us that day. Maybe the ATM says, $300 a day limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we need a little bit more than that, we just go. We found a credit union about a block away from our condo and just walked in there and made a withdrawal that way. So it's really easy. It's safe. So it just allows a small credit union like Safe Harbor that has one branch here in Ludington compete with much larger institutions by being part of this large network.
You brought in a diagram there, and I don't know if you want to show that to the camera, but it's interesting to see how this is put together here. And let me swing over to that camera, but yeah, so that the red it's 5,400, over 5,400 branches within the co-op, shared branches there. Compared, you said Wells Fargo at 5,500. That's pretty impressive. And now, what's this?
And this one just shows the entire United States. So some people might be curious. Probably the numbers are too small to see. But in the state of Michigan, there's 176 different branches around the state of Michigan that our members can use. So maybe it's might be beneficial if you've got a student going to college and you're like, hey, I need to put money in his account. You can still put his money in his account here in Ludington, but he or she could go into a credit union in their college town and pull out a bigger withdrawal than maybe what the ATM might allow them. So it allows our members to really stay connected to Safe Harbor regardless of where they're at.
What's the history of this? What triggered this? Probably the convenience side of things, but take us through that if you don't mind.
Well, when I started at Safe Harbor in 2014, we were part of another network, which we still are, but it was mostly credit unions just made up in Michigan. And it was, I think, maybe roughly 200 credit unions part of that network. So that was convenient for some members that maybe just stayed in Michigan. But, we obviously have a lot of members that might go to warmer climate in the wintertime, like Arizona, Florida, Texas, or maybe out to the West Coast. So we felt like we just wanted to be a part of a bigger network that would appeal to more of our members or all of our members that might, not everybody just sticks in Ludington. So this was something that we felt like could maybe benefit our members and maybe attract new members.
People are going to ask this question, and don't mind me asking it if you got a second, is, how do you not pass on those fees that you think that, if I go to another bank and I withdraw, I'm going to get some fees, right? Is there some fees that are passed on to the consumer?
Free of charge. So
wow.
Basically, you'd be walking to a lobby and it might say West Coast Credit Union, but you walk right into the window and, you have to bring your driver's license and show them who you are. But they would just say, I need to make a withdrawal from my Safe Harbor Credit Union account and, tell them how much you need and they'll hand it right over. So. Okay. It's free of charge. So it costs us some money to be a part of it, but we don't pass that on to the member.
Oh, that's impressive. I might put you on the spot on this one, and I apologize if I do. We can put some of the lists under it, but in Michigan, if we're traveling, is there other recognized institutions that we could stop at? If let's say we're in the Grand Rapids area or Lansing or traveling to Chicago or whatever, is there any ones that kind of jump out at you there?
Boy, it's such a large list, and I'm just trying to think of some frequent ones. Obviously, some that are close by, people stick to the community, maybe just West Michigan area. Mm-hmm. There's Filer up in Manistee. Preferred. Filer's part of a smaller network. They're not part of the huge national one that we are. Mm-hmm. But a lot of our members can, if maybe they live in Ludington but work in Manistee, they can access Filer. I think might be a few other ones in Manistee as well. I believe Forefront. Mm-hmm. And then if you're heading south, Route 31 Credit Union in Muskegon. Harbor Light Credit Union in Whitehall. Okay. Family Financial Credit Union in Hart, I believe. Up and down the lakeshore, you'll recognize some credit unions. They're all part of the network, or one of the networks that we might work with.
And that goes back into that bigger picture side of things. Is that we have to start thinking, Safe Harbor is right there on US 10. It's on the door. Mm-hmm. It's on the building. But it is a vast majority of other locations that you can benefit from. And so, and I would assume that it's a tough road in some cases, Adam, to get that information out to the listeners, for them to understand, or the consumers mm-hmm. to understand that you're going to get similar, if not the same benefits by being a Safe Harbor member at all of these locations. I would assume there's some struggles there.
Sometimes, people just aren't aware of this network and they're not sure where those institutions might be. So I have an app just so when I do travel, I can find an institution if I need to. Like I said, when we went on spring break in Florida. Yeah. But I have an app, so it's easy for me to find it. Not everybody might have an app, or maybe someone traveled and not really expecting that they need to go into any financial institution and they might not have the app. They can easily give us a call and say, hey, I'm actually stuck here in middle of Texas. Is there a credit union nearby? My car broke down. I need to get some cash and more than what the ATM allowed me. So can you help me find one? And we definitely can pull up our different companies that we use through the branching network. We can go through and find the institution hopefully close to where you might be.
All right. We're talking with Adam Johnson, Safe Harbor Credit Union, this morning. Got a couple more questions if I can put you on the spot here. That relationship, I'll just ask you a very direct question in regards to this. Is the relationship between credit unions, how different is that between the relationship with those larger and the banks out there? There has to be a reason why there's this network and why credit unions work together so smoothly.
And our biggest network is called Co-op Share Branching Network. So just in the name Co-op, credit unions work very, very well together. I think it probably just stems from years and years ago when, credit unions were just very small shops, maybe at a factory, and they just learned over the years to work very well together. So they're always willing to help one another. Anytime I have any questions or concerns, I can reach out to various people in the credit union industry, and they're definitely willing to assist in any way possible. So I I never really got that feeling when I worked at a bank. Banks kind of keep their cards pretty close to their chest, and I think at times it's maybe super competitive amongst the banks. Credit unions, yes, we're competitive, but I think we're always willing to help each other out because we know we're trying to all assist the members one way, shape, or form.
All right. Before we wrap up, any sort of questions that we've missed talking about that people tend to ask when it comes specifically to shared branching? Is there anything we always get this question, and because this is the way that the consumer thinks, but it might be a little bit different from reality?
I think a lot of people are just, maybe it's too good to be true. So they have a hard time understanding the concept. It's just like, wait a minute, you're telling me if I go into some credit union in Arizona, that they're going to be able to access my Safe Harbor Credit Union accounts. And yes, you'll be able to. And yes, we definitely are always there willing to help you find those locations. Like I said, there's close to 5,400 around the country. So unfortunately, sometimes there might not be one right around the corner, but we definitely could assist you, try to find one as close as possible when needed.
And that comes in handy. Let's say the college student moves across the country or across the state. Mom and dad's like, hey, you got to take care of your own car payment or anything like that, and be able to access and pay those bills, right?
Correct. So yeah, whether it's a withdrawal from the teller or you just need to make a loan payment, very easy to walk in and just tell them who you are and you need to make a loan payment, and they can easily walk you through it and get it done for you.
That's pretty cool. Once again, Adam Johnson, Safe Harbor Credit Union. I think if I remember right, it's just $5 to become a member at Safe Harbor Credit Union, and that opens a lot of doors, including the shared branch option.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
That's cool. Anything that we missed talking about this morning that you can think of, or did we cover it all?
I think we got it all.
All right. Great information to share this morning. If you want additional information, make sure you check out the Safe Harbor Credit Union website. And I know there's information about the shared branching there. And they're in that app you mentioned. They can download it once they're a member, right? And
Correct.
and see all of the credit unions that are available. I think that's handy.
And they could download it before they're even a member at Safe Harbor. So they could go to the Co-op shared branching app, and you could scroll and find credit unions throughout the country.
That's pretty cool. All right, very handy. Adam, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We appreciate you taking the time. You got it. Adam Johnson from Safe Harbor Credit Union here on 102.7 Mom FM and